Hey everybody, Patty Ann here again. Hey, thank you so much, you guys, for letting me know that you do like the longer videos, that we don't all have to do TikTok videos, even though some are really cool. They're just not my style of teaching, as I said in my previous video. If you didn't see it, I'll have it linked up here. Anyway, I had a couple questions on doing the appliques. Somebody wanted to know, let's see, who was it? It was Lou that wanted to know, can you make your own applique? You know, not buy somebody else's image or buy somebody else's file and make your own appliques. And sure enough, you can. Not today's video, but the next one I'm going to show you how to do that simply, and then you can graduate from there. Another question I was asked by Doreen was, let's see. I'm sure there are many of us, she had some nice stuff to say, and I thank you, Doreen. But then she said, however, I'm sure there are many of us who do not have cutting machines of any kind and wondered if it would be possible for you to do a video on how to cut with scissors. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you both ways to do it, and it's actually something that I bought from Planet Applique. So let's go to my computer screen and I'll show it to you. Okay, so as I said, I got something from Planet Applique, and this is what I got. I got the cross because with Easter coming up, it just seemed like the perfect thing to do. So the first thing that I did was, obviously, I purchased it. Then I'm going to come right here where it tells me that there's a zip file. I will click on that, and that will download. Maybe I have to double click. Right here it's coming, the zip file. Remember, you're going to double click on that to open it. And now there's a file folder right here, PA flower cross, but I can't use that yet, and I can't even use any of these yet because I have to download or extract them. I'm sorry. So here we are where it first came in. I'm going to say extract all. I'm going to leave this folder as it is, and I'm going to say show extracted files when finished. Okay. So it's going to be a crazy amount of extracted files. Let me show you. I'm going to open this and look at all these files. Now notice under the word type, there are EXP files, HUS files, JEF files, Paint Shop Pro. That's because I have that program on my machine. Let me tell you this right now. The only files that I believe that I'm going to keep are the ones that are the Paint Shop Pro files, which are images, or the PES files. I save the PES because that's the type of machine I have. I have a Brother machine. You probably know what file format you need for your machine. So the quickest way that I've found to get rid of everything I don't want is to first click on the top one, scroll way down to the bottom, hold down my Shift key, and click. That selects everything. If I hit delete now, everything will be deleted, but I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my control key and go through here and look for the ones I want to save. So there's a PES file. I need that one. I'm holding down my control key. Notice then that deselected it. Here's the Paint Shop Pro. I'm still holding down my control key. Click. I don't need the JEF. I happen to know the JEF files are for Genomes because all I have are Brother machines. So I'm going to keep going up here looking for PES. There's one. Or Paint Shop Pro for the images. Whoopsie. Oh, I just messed that up for you guys. All right, let's see. Is there, oh no, I got to fix that. Let's see. There we go. All right, let's see. So gotta see, are there any other ones? There's the EXP, JEF, Paint Shop Pro, PES. So I'm just making sure they kind of switch the way they look, but I can still tell which ones are which. Okay, so now I have selected or deselected the PES files, meaning everything else is selected that I don't want to keep. And I'm double checking. So all I'm going to do now is come up here to the wastebasket, the trash can, and delete. And that's going to delete everything but the few files that I need right here. So that's perfect. Now, if you have a computer like mine, you can right click on it. I have a Windows machine and I can say View, Extra Large Icons, and it lets me see these icons extra large. Now notice this is what the Paint Shop Pro pictures were. They kind of show you the order in which things are stitched and the colors. So if I'm going to do, I think I'll do a 5x7. I'm going to double click on that and it's going to automatically open it in Embrilliance for me. Embrilliance is my favorite software to use for embroidery, and I'll have links for that for you down below. So I'm going to double click to open it. When I come down here, okay, I didn't double click on it, I guess, so I'll just go to open, and then I'll come up here to my downloads. There it is, the PA Flower Cross, and there, and so I'll do the 5x7 one. Alright, and it comes in just like this. That's funny that it has the word Planet Applique under there. I guess it's kind of cool because then you remember where it came from. But let's run through the stitch simulator now. I always start this way so I can see what happens. So if we come up here to the little needle and we start going through, we can see, well, first of course there's their Planet Applique wording. So honestly, what I could do now is I could come right over here and I'm going to hide this. I'm going to lock it and hide it. So now it no longer shows up. So now let's start. We got this red piece first off. What this is the placement stitch for our cross. Then it's going to have the tack down after you put your fabric on there. Okay. Then it's going to have the placement stitch, then the tack downs, placement. So notice every time there's a red file in this one or red stitching, that's your placement, so you know where to put your fabric. And the black is that stitching that tacks that fabric down so it doesn't move before you start doing the rest. So right now it's going to start doing this satin stitch all over this. Beautiful. After that, it's going to do the satin stitch on the leaves and then the flower, and of course the inside of the flower. Nothing is going to be done on these lines right here because they are going to be covered up by the material that you're going to be using. Okay, so if you wanted to do this and you do not have a cutting machine, it's very easy to do it, and I'm going to show you how step by step by step. Well, what I can do is this. I can look at this piece right here, and if I come down to the bottom down here and I have this selected, the whole thing, I can see that it says down here at the bottom, what I have selected is about 4 7/8 inches, so we better call it like 5.5 inches by 6 11/16. So I like to round up. So if that's about 7, I round it up to 8. If this is about 5, I'll round it up to 6. I like to have way more fabric than what I think I'm going to need. So for the first piece right here, I'm going to cut a piece of fabric that's going to measure about 5 inches by about, no, 6 inches by about 8 inches. And again, I'm adding some on. So, because what's going to happen then is that when I put this on my machine, it's going to go like this, show me where to put that piece of fabric that I just cut, and then I'm going to place the fabric on top of that, and then it's going to tack it down, and at that point now I'm going to take this thing out of my machine and cut very, very close to this. So let me show you that. Okay, what I've done here is I loaded some backing fabric, just some purple fabric, into my 5x7 hoop with some tearaway stabilizer. I've also got some pink thread on here so we can see where the placement stitch is. I've put my thumb drive in here because I saved the design on here, the PES design from my brother machine. So now I'm going to go ahead and touch this And it's going to move the carriage, okay. And then I'm going to go here so that I can find, can you see? No, you can't really see it. I'm going to go right there, and I'm going to retrieve the cross design. Here it is. And now I'm ready to go. Now the first one is, I guess I did forget to get rid of that name on there, so I'm going to skip. Okay, so I'm going to skip this first design by doing what I had done yesterday. I'm going to go to Adjust, and then I'm going to go to the plus or minus needle, and that's going to allow me to skip number 1 out of 14. So I'm going to go plus ahead 1 spool of thread. So now I'm on number 2 of 14, and that will be the placement stitch for the cross. Put my presser foot down and go. Now recall that I said I was going to have a piece of fabric that measures about, what was that measurement? 6 by 8, I think it was. So I'm just going to rough cut this piece of fabric now, and hopefully I do it right. I'm going to make it bigger than what I know I need. Okay, that has finished the placement stitch that's telling me where to place my fabric, my applique fabric. So let me show you. Hopefully today, yes, you can see it. So this is the placement stitch. So I know where to place my applique fabric. I need to make sure that it covers every single stitch line of that. So then I'll just stick this right back in here, and for the next step it's going to do the tack down stitch. And this is what you do if you don't have a cutting machine. It's not that big a deal. So here I am on step number 3. Put down the presser foot and go. And if I thought this was going to shift this fabric at all, I could have put a little bit of this 404 spray, temporary adhesive to the back, but I feel like it's really stable there and I'm not going to have any issues. I had said in the beginning I was going to show you both ways to do this, one with not having a cutting machine and one with having one, but I feel the video is going to be long enough without me showing both ways, so this time I'll just show how to do this if you don't have a cutting machine. So here's what we have right now. This is what we have. Maybe, yeah, you can see barely the stitching for the cross. It goes like this. So what I'm going to do now is take these scissors, and I like these ones that are kind of bent like this. It makes it easier. I'm going to get up underneath here and try to get as close as I can to that stitching line without going through it. So I'm just cutting away the excess fabric that I don't need. Now you see what I did just there? Let me show you. This really isn't close enough, because when it does a zigzag, it's not going to cut or cover that. So it's just a little hard for me to get close while I'm trying to hold this so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm cutting as close as I can to the stitching lines. So here's some stitching right here. And let's see if I can get it so you can see what I'm showing. Okay, so I'm going to hold my scissors down flat like that, and it helps you to get pretty close. See how that was really bad compared to this side? So I'll go back and fix that in a minute. But if I hold my scissors down flat like this, I'm able to get quite close to the stitching line without cutting it. So again, I just pull this up and just keep my scissors flat. It's really pretty easy. The harder, if it's really an intricate design, you might be wishing you had a cutting machine, but for something like this, it's pretty easy. So in just a sec, I'm going to show you the difference between what's not good and what is much better for cutting. Okay, so hopefully you can see now. Look at this. This is a mess. That's not good. This side is much better. I could try to get in this little corner here a little bit closer. And if I had smaller scissors, which I do have, I just don't know where I put them, it'd be a little bit easier to get in here. But let's see, I can get this spot right here perhaps. I'll put this in here again and begin stitching. What are they called? The placement stitches. The placement stitches, I think it's now for the leaves. Put this down and hit go. Okay, you can see the placement stitches have been stitched. All I need to do now is take my green and take a little square that's sure to cover that area on both of these. Cut out the little squares, place them on here, put this back in my machine for it to do the tack down stitches. Okay, and since the tack down stitches have been done, I'll take the scissors again and just go around here as closely as I can. I like to pick it up and again keep my scissors flat if I can and just get close to that stitching without cutting anything off. And again, it is nice to have a second pair of these scissors that are smaller point blade. Okay. Hopefully now you can see how I was able to cut around those pretty well. And of course this will all be zigzag with a thread that will match. So the next thing that's going to happen, according to my directions up there, is we're going to do the tack down, or not the tack down. First we're going to do the placement stitch for the flower. Okay, the placement stitch has been made for the flower, and again I could use the measurements up on my computer screen, or I can just kind of go like this and eyeball it and get a rough idea. Just make sure that the piece that you cut is large enough to cover everything that has the stitching. So this is ready to go now. So we did the placement and now we're doing the tack down stitch. Okay, as you can see, the tack down stitch has been finished, so I'm just going to go ahead as usual and go ahead and clip close to this tack down stitch as I can without cutting through. I like to pull up on this fabric while I'm doing this. Not so hard. I pull this out of the hoop, of course, but it just makes it get a little bit closer. I'm sorry my hand is in the way, isn't it? Let's see if I turn this way. There you go. And I'll go from this side. So I'll pull up and just kind of follow it around like that. And go back. If you have some little areas that don't look too good, you can trim them up, but that looks pretty good to me. Okay, the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to do the satin stitch all around the cross. It's going to avoid these places. It'll jump from here to here and do it, from here to here, and so on. And I've chosen a thread color that matches or is going to look really pretty on this. So I'll meet you back here after this is done. Okay, it's finished cutting or going around here with all the satin stitch. It looks beautiful. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in here and I'm going to change my thread color again because the next thing it's going to do is the greenery. Okay, so I'm going to put this thread color, and I tried to match the thread colors. It's hard to tell these colors online. They look a little bit funky compared to what they really look like. And then this is for the flower, and I think for the inner part of the flower I might do the same pink that I had done before. So while this machine is going, what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and tell you again how you would just make your own cut files if you didn't have them, if you wanted to use it in your cutting machine. Okay, almost all the stitching is done. I've decided instead of using the pink there, I'm going to use this pretty gold color for the very center of the flower. So I've already stitched the placement stitch, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this on and stitch it. So one other thing I wanted to show you was I didn't find the regular scissors that I like, but I really like to use these too when I'm doing appliques. A lot of my friends don't like them, but I do. I'm able to handle them really well. And since they're curved, they go around corners very nicely, around edges, circles, that kind of thing. So, and I can just really get in there and trim close. So now I've got to get a yellow color to go on that, and this pretty much will be done. Of course, I could have put, someone's name on here, figured that out beforehand. But while this is stitching, I will tell you how to have all of these pieces cut out in advance. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to hear me just fine. I wanted to tell you this quickly. Remember when we were going through here that everything that was red was the placement stitch. So every time I see something that's red, I'm going to change it, or I know it's a placement stitch. Like I changed this one already because I've done this once, but for some reason the video disintegrated into thin air. So I'm going to start again. So here's the first thing, and it's the cross. When we're on the red part of the cross, and we can look here at the stitch simulator, you see that? That's what we want to have cut out. I would click this red, come up here to Applique, and change this to Applique position, and leave my inflate at 1.5 millimeters. And if that works for you, remember you need to test things first. Just say save. And then I'm going to save it in here in my flowers. And I've already done this. I'll just show you right here. I've done the flower cross right here, and I saved it as an SVG. Remember, you can save things as SVGs that will work in your Cricut machine or your Silhouette. You can save things for scan and cut, simply Silhouette, shortcuts a lot files, lots of stuff. I just saved mine as a SVG so I can use it in both my Cricut and my Silhouette, depending on which one I have out that day. Okay, after that, I'd save it and get rid of this. The next one I would come to is this, which are the leaves. So I would click on this again, the color swatch here, click on Applique, click on Applique position, leave the inflate the way it is, and say save. And I'm going to save that as an SVG as well, and I'm going to save it as leaves. And I'll know that's my cut file because it's an SVG. So I'd say save, and then I would get rid of the one little pop-up that would come up and get rid of this as well. The next one would be for the flower. Once again, click here on the flower, click on the red color swatch, Applique, change it to Applique position, leave the inflate as it is, save it. I'm going to save it as an SVG for my Cricut or my Silhouette in that same file folder, and there it is for the flower, and I would continue on like that. The last thing I would need to do is the little circle, which is the inside right here, and I would go to the red, Applique. Right now it says not Applique. That's what everyone will start out saying. I'll change it to Applique position, and I'm going to say save, and I'm going to change it, and I'm going to call it I can call it flower cross, and this would be middle of the flower or something like that, and I would save it, and then I would say okay to this and or cancel and that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let me show you the finished product. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody. I hope you liked this video, and I hope it's going to give you some ideas of how easy it is to do appliques, and I hope this answered the question that I got on the YouTube video. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Remember to give me a thumbs up if you like my videos, subscribe, tell your friends, and just thanks a lot. Bye for now.